on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is Leo's Nerd Talk, and today we're going to be going over Predator, Killer of Killers. So let's get into that. Hi, my name is Leo, and as I talk about anything TV shows, movies, video game related, or just anything nerdy, you have come to the right place. And like I said, today we are talking about Predator, Killer of Killers. Without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, when this project was first announced, I thought it was going to be a TV show, like an animated TV show, but it ends up being a animated movie that takes place over many different eras of Earth's life. And it's basically an anthology movie, again, taking characters from different eras of Earth's history of amongst all these different types of warriors and stuff like that, and kind of showing us different interactions with the Predator with these warriors and how it all kind of culminates together by the end of it. But before I give you my pros and cons on Predator Killer of Killers, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment in the section down below. Let me know what you thought about this movie. Are you guys excited for the new upcoming Predator movie, Predator Badlands, as well? Love to hear your guys' thoughts on that as well. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get straight into my pros. And start with my pros, I want to go over something that I was kind of iffy at the beginning, but ended up really enjoying it by the end of it. And it was mainly the animation style. The animation style definitely looks more like it's hand painted. It kind of reminded me a lot of the Telltale games, like the Walking Dead Telltale game or the Batman game, where it's very animated. The kind of frames per second are a little bit more choppy, and it kind of has a very unique animation to it. And at first, I wasn't fully on board for it. It didn't look as good, especially in the first like act or first section. But as the movie went on, you can definitely see how it just became really unique, how they're able to implement this animation style into like the action, combat, explosions, the gunfights, and all that kind of stuff. So it ended up being very unique and actually very pleasing by the end of it. And for the most part, I do like every individual story that we get here. So we get our first story back in like the Viking era. I think it's like 842 AD. And this is our first encounter that we get with the Predator. And it's basically this mother who's kind of like a leader of this Viking clan who's on like a little bit of a revenge plot for someone that killed her father even when she was a young girl, and her trying to kind of get her revenge on that and kill the man that did so. And through that moments, we get an interaction with the Predator, and this first Predator is a bulky, beefy boy. He is absolutely huge, extremely tall. Looks like he's about 10 feet tall. And I think that's also really a nice thing why they made this an animated movie, is because they can do a little bit more with the Predator designs, where they can go a little bit more extra, a little bit more beefier, more monstrous. And I think this first Predator was actually very intimidating and really cool to look at. Um, the, I'll kind of get a little bit more into the cons later on about the Predators, but overall, I think he was a very great first Predator that we were interacted with. And then second, we get a scene in Japan. I think it was 1906 or 1806, can't remember, or 1706. Jesus, I might be off on all three of them, but it's something '06. And it's basically the story with these two young uh, Japanese kids who their father seemingly is like one of the kind of hierarchy leaders of this like samurai clan. And I think they're brothers, but they have some kind of internal turmoil between them, that where one of them kind of feels like he betrayed him, because their dad kind of makes them fight in a sense, and one of them does not want to fight, and the other one kind of ruins that relationship with them. And he kind of goes back on a little bit of a revenge plot as well to his brother to kind of show him off that he's also a fighter and he wasn't someone to really look down upon it during that moment when they were both kids. And then again, of course, we get the next interaction with the Predator here as well, which this Predator I think was even better in terms of the design and the action sequences that we get here. I think it was very fun being in that Japan setting. This is probably one of my favorite ones out of the three, or at least my second favorite one, probably, I'll say. And but I love being in that Japan setting. It was very fun seeing these brothers kind of come together and kind of get over their differences and go against the Predator together. And I think that the Japan sequence was very nicely done. And then the last thing is we get something that's more modern. We're in the army now. This guy, or I think he's actually in the Navy. He's a naval pilot. A little more of a younger kid, and he uses aviation skills to kind of go against this Predator and this huge, basically, mothership. And I feel like this one has probably a little bit of the most emotion, in my opinion, especially him with his father. He has a little bit more turmoil with his father as well, and that's why he kind of wants to prove himself as a pilot, and things like that. So I think throughout all three of these kind of side stories, I think for the most part, the emotion is done pretty well. You can definitely feel the heart in them, some more than others, in my opinion. And I think it's kind of unique that there's a for the most part a pretty uh lack of dialogue in this. It's a lot more of the visuals and the facial expressions and the fight sequences that's kind of telling the story. There's not a lot of speaking throughout this entire movie. Throughout the entire hour and a half so runtime of this film, there's probably speaking words. There's probably about 5 minutes total from what it feels like out of this entire film, because a lot of it again comes from the action sequences, the facial expressions, the moments you have for emotions in between fighting the predator and being kind of in this lingering moment of emotion. I think it was a very unique decision to do so, and it ends up paying off by the end of it. I do enjoy that, and especially because once we do get to the later portion of the movie, basically the final act, where this anthology kind of comes together and you see the culmination of all these characters, they all have a huge language barrier. And so they have to kind of figure out how to work together, not through their words, but more so through their actions and showing that they're not a threat to each other and they should work together. So I think that kind of speaks very well to that, and kind of has a little bit of a message, and throughout this movie. That's kind of what it's trying to say, that we're all humans, and when we have an alien threat, we shouldn't be fighting with each other. When we have just a threat in general, we shouldn't be fighting against each other. Even if we have differences, we should try to figure out how to work together and kind of get on top of the issue that's at hand. So I think that was a very nice kind of through line that worked its way throughout this entire anthology. And then once we do get to that moment, besides all that as well, it's a great, great action sequence where you have the predators kind of again trying to make them go against each other, but they end up finding a way to work with each other, and it ends up being very, very satisfying. Great animation, great fight sequences. Enjoy all the different predator designs that we get here. Lots of different aliens and predator again designs and stuff. So it's very, very aesthetically pleasing, and it's something that I wasn't enjoying at first, but by the end of it, again, it just very much came together and ended up being a very pleasing film. Kind of like the title here too. They kind of played on the title as well, because when you read the title, you think, oh, the killer of killers is the predator, but you end up kind of getting the reverse of that, where these human characters are so skilled that they end up being able to go toe and toe with some of these predators. And I kind of enjoy that, again, that it feels very similar to what we got not too long ago, Prey, where you have someone that's a lot more primal, but they figure out ways to go against the predator, even though the predator is more advanced with its technology and their weapons and their skills, because they have so much fighting experience as humans in their era. They find a way to kind of come on top. So I do enjoy how they kind of twist the words on it, where the killer of killers is more so the humans versus the actual predator itself. And at least that's how I kind of took it. But overall, I think this was a very fun little movie that they were able to pull out here, especially right before Badlands comes out not too long from now. Kind of a little bit of a good little teaser to kind of what to expect and the kind of style that they might be going for in this upcoming movie. And kind of just also, it's fun to just be in the Predator world again, seeing different eras, all the different Predator designs, different aliens and motherships, and all this different stuff. I think it was fun being in this Predator world throughout all these different eras, and ends up being just a fun movie overall, with really great gore, really great action-packed moments, some decent emotion, some good characters, and a really fun, unique animation style. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into my cons. And starting off with my cons is, while most of the stories are fun and unique, there was a lot of moments where it felt kind of slow and sometimes actually kind of boring. And like I said, I enjoy most of the story, but I think it didn't feel as impactful and didn't feel as epic until we got more into the later half of the movie, where more stuff felt like it was going on, especially in that final act where we get the culmination of all these characters coming together. But each individual story itself was visually pleasing, unique to look at, but at times, again, just felt kind of slow, kind of boring, and kind of made me wish that this wasn't an anthology and they kind of made a full fleshed out story of a singular character and had a full storyline instead of little snippets. Because, like I said in the beginning, where I thought this was going to be like a show, I think this would have worked more in a show format. And while this movie definitely leaves some open air for maybe future projects or setting up into Badlands or other animated things that they might do, I felt like the ending did feel a little bit unsatisfying. While we do get uh, some kind of happiness by the end of it, it still does feel a little bit unsatisfying. And it felt like, again, the story wasn't finished. And that's where, again, I think this could have worked better in a show because they could have probably continued this on or created more stories and found a way to more so make it more cohesive in a show format than this, where it felt very kind of broken apart and choppy, and again unsatisfying by the end of it. But overall, this was pretty fun. I still enjoyed myself watching the movie as a whole. There were still a lot of cool, unique sequences. Of course, seeing a Predator movie in an animated style was also very fun and unique. But overall, I probably would never really watch this again. It was a very cool, fun first watch. But beyond that, I'll stick to more of the traditional Predator movies because that seems more fun for me. For the most part, they have more of a cohesive storyline that ends up being more satisfying for me than this animated movie did. This kind of just gets you a little bit of a teaser right before Badland comes out and kind of gets you a little bit hyped before that. Other than that, this is a fine movie. I recommend watching it if you are a Predator fan, but it's not necessarily a must watch in my opinion. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. If you guys like anything movie, TV show, video game related, or just anything nerdy, again, you are in the right place. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe. And again, stay nerdy, my friends.